Now, as South Africa continues to observe Women's Month, rape continues to haunt the country. According to statistics, there are 115 women raped in South Africa every single day. Now, to unpack the country's rape culture and whether government is losing the fight against rape, I'm now joined by Stellenbosch University's Professor Amanda Gouws. Professor Gouws, very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. We keep hearing of the increase in rape. We hear shocking revelations like in a space of 3 months, 11,000 or so women are raped, 115 raped every single day. Really, really shocking. Speaking almost as though South Africa is under a war, under siege. Talk to us about where the point is being missed. Why is there an increase? Can we not just see a decrease or no rapes at all? What is government failing to get right?
Well, I think when we look at the overall statistic, it was over 42,000 in 2019, 2020, and the statistics after that is a bit problematic because of COVID. You know, the 115 rapes per day isn't a very useful statistic because it's not though as you know, it happens in different places over a period of time. The point is that these statistics have been the same in terms of going up every year or coming down just slightly, but it's between 40 and 60,000 rapes per year, reported rapes. The 1 in 9 campaign tells us that only 1 in 9 rapes are reported. If we talk to the Medical Research Council, their statistic, and this was a couple of years ago, is only 1 in 25, which means that if we take the extrapolation from that, it's over 1 million rapes a year. So this is a country that has the worst rape statistics than some countries at war. So it tells us something about the very serious social problem we have with rape in South Africa. And the issue here is then, what do we do to decrease rape? As you ask, you know, why can't we manage to decrease it? And the problem here is that it's going to take a long-term vision. It's going to take concerted effort on the part of government to decrease these statistics, because women are not safe. We're not safe in our homes. We're not safe on our streets. We're not safe in the post office. We are literally not safe anywhere. So this has become a very systemic problem. And therefore, you know, what we need is a really serious and concerted effort and political will. So in 2018, after the 2017 hashtag total shutdown, that actually forced government to take some action, we developed a national strategic plan on gender-based violence and femicide. Now that plan went to the provinces for consultation and has been approved. But the question is, how is it rolled out? How is the money spent? And is it successful in terms of what has already been rolled out? We don't know. As citizens, we don't know that. But this plan rests on 6 pillars, which are all long-term action. It's about safety. It's about social involvement. It's about research. It's about care. It's about women's economic empowerment and research. So those things can only happen over a long period of time. But the problem is, what do we do in the short term? And here I think the ANC really does not understand that rape is systemic and that you need urgent intervention. So that's preventative. This is the issue. How do we prevent it? So their recent policy decision on chemical castration is completely misplaced, because as a solution, if we look at research where chemical castration is used or has been used, is that it doesn't decrease rape. And it individualizes the problem of rape to people who are seen as monsters, and then we treat them like monsters. And that's not the problem we have in South Africa. Yes, there are people who, I mean, the brutality of the rape of the 8 women in Krugersdorp was absolutely brutal and savage.
Yeah.
But the problem is, we cannot only think that some men rape. If we look at the statistics, it's a very systemic problem. And therefore, chemical castration doesn't bring down the levels of rape. it violates the rights of perpetrators. Now, even if somebody's been convicted of rape, it doesn't mean that they don't have rights. So that solution or policy is unconstitutional. And what research has also shown is that there are very negative side effects of chemical castration, and that really violates the rights to choice and the rights to bodily integrity of the perpetrators.
So
yes?
perhaps, the negative elements of chemical castration, I mean, that was something that was really heard again when we witnessed the horrific, murder of 3 women, family members, a grandmother, a grandchild being raped, and, members of the public and family members saying that perhaps that could have been a viable solution. What would the negative elements be on the perpetrator?
Well, the negative side effects of chemical castration is, for example, breast growth. It's because of hormone treatment, right? Mm-hmm. So it has an endocrinological causes endocrinological problems for the perpetrators. But the issue here is that we have a legal system, and our legal system is not saying an eye for an eye.
Yeah.
Right? If we say, okay, let's weigh up the damage done to rape survivors, and now these savage perpetrators have rights. But our legal system doesn't say it's an eye for an eye. So we have to actually think about the constitutionality of our democracy. The issue here is also that chemical castration deals with sexual desire. Now, rape and the brutality and savageness of the rape we see in South Africa has got nothing to do with sexual desire. It's got to do with power and entitlement to women's bodies. And even somebody who's been chemically castrated, so who's impotent, can rape women with other objects, bottles and sticks and whatever. And we see that. We see that women get raped with objects. So the chemical castration does not deal with the tendency to violence that rapists have. So that can only be dealt with if you combine chemical castration with psychotherapy. Yeah. And this was not a suggestion here. So I think we have to think about prevention. We cannot deal with rape every time after the fact, because we've seen this every time that there's a really horrific incident like this, mm-hmm. Then government jumps into action. And then, why is it the case that everybody in West Village is, and the police in West Village is aware of the Zamas? It's aware of women getting raped on a regular basis. But now there's a horrific incident, and now everybody jumps into action. We round up 80 or more than 100 Zamas, and we forget. It's not about illegal mining. It's about rape, and the rape of 8 women. Those women have now become a footnote to the story about what happened in West Village.
So how do we begin to understand rape then as a social problem and really get that messaging across and tackle it on that end instead of being reactive and constantly being reactive and having, the cries fall on deaf ears for a long period up until something as massive as this happens?
Exactly. So we have to start with the construction of masculinities and men's thinking that they're entitled to women's bodies. So this has to start at a young age. It has to start at even preschool level, but socialization in schools. The messages. What is the difference between sex and intimacy? There's a huge difference. I don't think many people, who rape understand what intimacy is about. So we have to socialize all children, but boys specifically, about what it means to be in a relationship, what intimacy means, and how to separate that from just satisfying your urges. I mean, this idea that men cannot control their urges is nonsense. Men can control their urges. Yeah. So we have to think how to bring that message across. We have to deal with toxic masculinity, and I think this is a huge issue. And it's not as though everybody has an answer for that. And that is why government has to really work with people who do research on this there's social scientists that work on this for years.
Yeah.
Is there actually interaction with those social scientists?
Very well. Thank you so much for this conversation. It could have gone on for a very long time, but we're going to have to leave it there for now for the sake of time. Stellenbosch University's Professor Amanda Host speaking to the problem and the lack of understanding of rape as a social problem.